Talking about that shop,
Yeah.
wasn't there, haven't you got a story about a notorious name, an exclusive story?
I know what you're talking about, yeah. So there's only a few people know about this. So years ago, above my hairdressing shop, there was 2 floors of like rooms and stuff like that. And a mate of mine, good mate of mine, called Paul Edmonds, he'd just come out of prison. Paul was like a live wire. He's not with us no more, but he was typical one of them people we was talking about earlier on, like loud, probably ADHD. Everyone's got a syndrome nowadays, but this was before syndromes was about. And he was just like a live wire, completely crackers, but in a good way. Anyway, he got out of prison, and I'd done what you're supposed to do around my way. I said, look, there's a flat up there. Just stay up there, Paul, till you get yourself straight. I don't want nothing for it. Just stay there, and when you get going, you get going. Oh, lovely, Rick, that's lovely, and all that. And Paul was always trying to get things going. I remember he was trying to invent things at the time. He invented this thing that rolls a fag up or something like. Always into something, and he'd have like unofficial fights, and you know he could hold his hands up.
Some shows, didn't he?
Yeah, and he had some himself, you know, and he had some notorious street fights. I think there was an old sort of face from around my way called Alan Castile. I'm not sure with Roy Lane as well. Maybe Alan Castile. I know they had a fight that went on for about half an hour.
Proper,
like a proper, you know, straight up, and he was lively, Paul.
Yeah.
No one, but he used to make me laugh. Anyway, he was staying up the room there, and we was doing a little bit of training together and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, one day, the shop's right buzzing. We're all busy. I used to have like music blaring out, old beer barrels. It was like a junk shop in there, old 2 and 6 till. I think because I was no good at cutting hair, I just tried to make everything look all right. Yeah. And no, I was all right. I could cut it. I didn't look like an hairdresser though. You can imagine, I never got no complaints. No. They said, yeah, that's lovely, all their hair sticking up. Anyway, he come in one day, Paul, with this fella. Geezer looks an handful, like big moustache like that. And when people didn't have moustaches, you know, and been standing like that. So Paul said to me, Rick, I'm cutting someone's hair. I said, all right. He said, this is Mickey. I said, hello Mick, how you doing? Yes, lovely to see you, lovely to see you. I said, all right, lovely. Yeah, he went, and Paul was laughing and all that. I come over, shook his hand. Seemed like a nice fella, so carried on cutting the hair. Paul says to me, Rick, we're going to do a charity fight, boxing match. I think it was in the Astor Club, which is old Connie Whitehead's.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still about, Connie Whitehead.
He was in Quaidwin's film, wasn't he?
Yeah, another fella, nice fella, and he was just a few doors along. He said, we're going to do a charity boxing match thing. He said, would you fight Mickey? So I'm in the shot, everyone's looking round, like he's sort of put it on me, you know what I mean, while I'm cutting hair. So I said, like you do as a fighter, you're never going to back down because thing. So I said to the fella, are you a fighter, mate? He said, no, like that. So I said, all right. And Paul Edmonds said to me, he's out on licence, you know, his thing. He said he's just done an 8 or something like that. He said he's a right double handful and things. So I said, it doesn't matter, but have you boxed? He said, no. He said, no. So I said, right. I said, no disrespects to you. I said, but the likelihood is I'd knock you out straight away. I said, I'm not going to get no medals for doing it. Yeah. You're out on licence, you know, you're the thing. And I said, and it's not going to be good for you either. It ain't going to look good for you. I said, you're better off fighting someone else who's never boxed. And I said, you know, because you know what it's like, no matter how tough someone is in the street or whatever, if someone's got their hands down there or whatever, it's like an open top, mate. You know, maybe I'll get it wrong, but that's just the
majority of the time it is.
Anyway, the geezer went to me, thank you very much, thank you very much. And Paul Evans looked at me like that, and I thought, like, he's a bit of an eccentric, but I liked him because I thought, you know what, he's got lovely manners. We shook hands, and they went to go out, and I said, Paul, can I just see you a minute? So he said, yeah. So I've pulled him in the passage. I had a little passage bit aside. I said, Paul, don't ever do that to me again. I said, you've put it right on me in there. I said, I feel like I've embarrassed that man a little bit. I said, and there's no need for it. He obviously wasn't scared because his reaction, he never said, oh, all right, thanks, mate. You know, it was like, thank you very much for giving me the advice, right? I said, but you've put me in a really awkward situation. I feel horrible what I've just done there. And he said, you're right, Rick. He said, I didn't think. He said, I shouldn't have done it. I said, you should have just pulled me on my own and said you want to fight him, and I would have said, as he boxes, you know, and we could have just had that. He said, no, you're right. Anyway, he left, right? At that time, a little while before that, I had a bulldog. I used to live in Custom House on the Freemasons Road. Notorious road, by the way. A lot of people come out of that area. And I had a bulldog. This is in the 80s I'm talking about. And bulldogs wasn't about then. They'd sort of fizzled out to hardly anything. You know, if you went anywhere, people wanted to stop and take a picture and all of that. That's what I used to do, have a little mooch around Covent Garden and that. All Japanese people take a picture with the bulldog. And this bulldog was named Bronson. And what he'd done, he was a bit into bred, I think, the dog, so he was a little bit aggressive anyway. But where I lived in a place called Ethel Road, which sort of backed onto Freemasons Road, Custom House. And all the young fellas, like little gangs of kids and that, used to kick the back fence. And then Bronson started diving over and getting them. And in the end, he got out of hand. I was trying to put fences up and he was leaping over them. He looked like a block of flats at that night. Black Mike, he wasn't working, right? He was just getting over and getting people, and I kept turning up at Newham General Hospital with people limping, you know, like their leg bleed. I'd give them like 10 quid or a score for their jeans or something. And the woman in Newham General, in the A&E, got to know me, like the head nurse, sister or whatever she was. I used to bring someone in limping like that, all claret coming out their knee, and she used to go, tetanus. You know, she knows the score, and then like you see the people, because I'd be saying it's the first time it's ever happened. You know what I mean? She go tetanus, give him a tetanus, I'll give him the score, the jeans are going. So people got to know about Bronson. Yeah. Around that little area, people would have a little row about something, and if someone got a bit bouncy or a bit leery, they go, "Who do you think you are, Bronson?" Yeah. You know, because he had a bit of a rep. Yeah. And I love that dog to death. I like dogs better than people anyway. Yeah. But so everyone knew about him. Paul Edmonds comes back to me shop. He said, Rick, he went, we can't really use Mickey's real name. He said, because he's out on licence. He said, he like your dog, Rick. He said, he won't suffer anyone's taking Mickey. He said he'll take him. He said, he said he smashed the granny out of it. I said, well, what are you saying? He went, can I call him Bronson? Like, I think he's come to ask me, because I've told him about the other thing, he wants to ask me every little thing. I said, well, yeah, of course you can. You want to call him Bronson, call him Bronson. Yeah. See if make sure he likes the name. So, about 10 minutes later, he comes back, he goes, Rick, he said he's calling himself Charles Bronson. He said, I think he thinks I mean the actor. He said he's called. I said, well, let him call himself Charles Bronson. What difference does it make? As long as he don't get in trouble. So, Charles Bronson was named after my bulldog, right? And
that's amazing.
That's an absolute true story.
That's amazing.
And I wouldn't say it if it wasn't right. And I always wondered, did Charles Bronson know that name come from my dog? Did Paul say to him, there's this dog and you'll like him, you'll really like him, he won't suffer no nonsense, and and that's no you know, that's no
disrespect.
No disrespect whatsoever. In fact, it's a big compliment. I love that dog more.
He would love that, I think.
It was my first. It was my and being a bulldog, it's a great.
And it had a big reputation.
They've got the best reputation.
Best rep. So
that's
that is an exclusive that we've got there from.
No, hardly anyone knows that.